Okay, so thank you guys for coming today. I'm Sarah Shepard. I'm the Employer Relationship Manager at Mercy. And my main role is to connect you with employers that are hiring for jobs and internships in hopes that you land one or two of them. So today we have Enya from Breakthrough New York, and she's here to talk to us about her fall internships. So take it away, Enya.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. So before we get started, just to introduce myself, my name is Enya. Again, I work at Breakthrough New York. I've been here for almost 3 years now. And I have kind of a couple different roles at the organization, one of which is to help recruit for internships and full-time and part-time staff opportunities throughout the year. But I also oversee our admissions process for 6th grade students into our program. So two kind of very different functions in my role. So if you're interested in learning anything about the other part of my work, feel free to let me know. But today I'm going to be spending most of our time talking about, especially in these weird, uncertain times, the certain opportunities that Breakthrough New York will be able to offer as far as internships for the upcoming academic year, that we're all going to be transitioning to remote roles. After hearing kind of from you a little bit, Natalie, about the kind of hesitancy of like going back and working with students and what does that look like. We are very much of the mindset of we're not going to be the test group. We're going to wait and see how everyone, how going back to schools looks like, how going back to summer camps looks like. And especially because most of our roles normally take place in school spaces. We are very much at the whim of schools being open in person. So that's why we've decided way far ahead of time to make sure that our programs and internships are going to be happening remotely. And we also know that this means that hopefully our opportunities will get more traction because it's one of the few things where what you signed up for is what will actually happen. So I'm going to share my screen for today. Let me see. All right. Can everyone see the Google Slides?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, great. Thank you.
I like get all caught up when I have to present it. So I'm just going to go through like the slides like this with the document open. So today I'm going to be talking about internship part-time opportunities. And then at the moment, we do have one full-time opportunity as an AmeriCorps member. But generally, since we're a little bit small, I can talk about the types of full-time roles that we have if you know something's up by the time that you're graduating. But for the most part, I'll be talking about stuff that we have open as far as internships and part-time roles for next school year. So I'm going to be going over just some general information about Breakthrough New York first and why you might consider working here in the first place. The second thing I'm going to go over is what types of opportunities are available, and then I'll go into more detail about the roles we have open for the fall. And then, of course, any questions you have about what we are offering, we can definitely go over at the end. And also, since we're a pretty small group, I think like if you have a burning question, feel free to jump in. So first thing, why might you consider working at Breakthrough New York? So I'm not sure if anyone got the chance to check out our organization's website beforehand, but we're a nonprofit organization. And our mission is to transform the lives of talented students from low-income backgrounds. And we do that by providing educational support to breakthrough students from middle school all the way through college and into careers. So again, the other part of my role is overseeing the admission of 6th grade students into our 10-year program. And so we provide support for them, many of whom are first-generation college students, all the way through all the paths in their educational career. So that's a big piece of what we do. And then second of all, we inspire young people to go into careers in education through our Students Teaching Students model. So we hire about 100 college and graduate students every single year to work directly with our students in lots of different roles that I'll go over. But our goal is that hopefully an opportunity to work at Breakthrough New York means that you might consider a career in education moving forward, whether that's working as a teacher or a guidance counselor, or working in a nonprofit organization. There's so many opportunities that are available in the field of education, and especially with all the conversations that we're having right now about justice and equity, education is a really great space to get involved in. So the second reason why you might consider working at Breakthrough New York beyond, if the mission is tied to you, has to do with the types of students that we serve, which we mentioned a little bit in our mission. So we have 527 students enrolled in our 10-year program. So they're all across New York City right now. 65% of them are first generation college students. So they're going to be the first in their families to go to a 4-year college in the United States. 75% of them qualify for free or reduced lunch, which is a measure of the family's income. 38% of our students live in single parent households, and then 53% of our students identify as English language learners. And so our student body is super diverse, mostly students of color. Our students, again, are kind of spread out all throughout the city. And normally when we are operating in person, we run our programs for students out of a few different sites. So we have sites in in the Upper East Side, in Hell's Kitchen, in Brooklyn, and then in the Bronx. So we have sites normally throughout the year where students are coming to us for us to deliver their programming, and this is where our interns normally work out of one of these spaces. And so right now in these times, we are being a little bit more flexible with our program delivery, but they are kind of spread out across the city. So if you're interested in working with students who are going to be the first family, are the first in their family to graduate from college, or students who are facing a number of other barriers on their educational journey, and you feel like you have experience or skills or perspectives that could help them on their path, Breakthrough is a great place to consider working. The third reason you might consider working at Breakthrough New York is we have a more diverse team than what some other spaces look like. So one misconception about us being an education nonprofit is that we only attract undergraduates and graduate students who are firmly on a path to working in education or becoming a classroom teacher. And we certainly are a place that attracts those people because you get to work directly with students. So you'll see that about a quarter of our interns do come from an education major background, but the rest come from non-education major backgrounds. So we've got folks across the liberal arts, in STEM, in language and communications. So when you come to work at Breakthrough New York, you're certainly working with people who are passionate about the mission and the students that we serve, but they're really coming from a variety of disciplines. And so you get to work with folks who are coming from very diverse academic backgrounds. And then you can look at our race ethnicity breakdown, and then our gender breakdown is doing a little bit better than the education space overall in terms of male and female distribution, but we definitely are kind of in the trend of education spaces being more female heavy than male heavy. And then finally, the biggest reason why I would consider you to encourage a role at Breakthrough New York is our preparedness for whatever your career, or for wherever your career takes you. So for instance, I worked at Breakthrough Greater Boston, because we're all over the country, when I was in college. And I was in like a student-facing role in front of the classroom, and it was a wonderful experience. It really helped me grow my public speaking skills, but I felt like I wasn't going to be most effective in front of the classroom long-term. It wasn't my most comfortable space, but it really affirmed my interest in the education world. And so you can see here that there's lots of great career readiness opportunities at Breakthrough, whether or not you decide to go into a career in teaching. So you'll see that this survey is from about 2 years ago of a group of our seasonal staff. 78% of folks who worked at Breakthrough said that the role influenced their career choice, so presumably helped them either cross education off or put it on their list, but helped them make some sort of decision about their career. For 87% of them, it did increase their interest in going into a career in education, whatever that looked like. 94% said that it increased their interest in advocacy or work with underserved students. So folks who really became drawn to the mission and then might pursue that in lots of different ways. And then 91% said it increased their readiness for professional employment. And so from my experience, seeing a lot of the folks who work at Breakthrough, we really help folks grow their professional skills in lots of different ways. It's really, we offer roles that are student facing that come with a lot of responsibility and lots of room to grow. And so we're really helping people no matter what their role with certainly public speaking skills, with time management skills, how do you coach and manage others, for example, students to be successful, So whether or not you see education as kind of a next step for you, we offer lots of opportunities to gain skills that are transferable across sectors. And then looking at the folks who have worked with us previously, 55% have gone on to a classroom teaching role, which is awesome. And then an additional 21% have gone on to work in the education space. So they might be someone like me working at a nonprofit like Breakthrough. They might be a principal, a guidance counselor. They might be working in advocacy or community organizing. And then an additional 14% have worked in the nonprofit or public sector, maybe outside of a focus on education. So maybe you come to Breakthrough and you learn a lot about public service in the nonprofit world, but maybe you're more passionate about healthcare reform or gun safety, and then you still get to use some of those skills to carry on to whatever kind of your focus cause is. So those are some of the reasons why I would have you consider a role at Breakthrough. And then now I'm going to talk about what types of roles we have available. So again, all of our roles are focused on helping students in our program graduate from college, but you'll see that our roles, even though they're all education-based, they really kind of have different focuses depending on what your comfort level or interest in the education world might be. So the first thing I'm going to go over is our paid internship and part-time roles. And the roles that are on this slide encompass all the roles we recruit for in a given year. So I'll talk more specifically about the roles that we have open now in a few minutes. But just so you have an idea of all the opportunities that are available to you at Breakthrough throughout the year. So some of these roles are just summer roles, some are full academic years, some are a fall or spring semester, but we really have a little bit of something for everyone. And since all of our opportunities are student facing, they're all built into a specific part of our program. So we run a 10-year program for students that's divided between our middle school, high school, and college program. And so having those divisions might also help you think about, is there a particular age of students that you'd be interested in working with? So in our middle school program, we have instructional roles where you are up in front of a classroom working with curriculum that you're modifying yourself, writing lesson plans, grading student work, getting coaching from our staff on your teaching skills. So working as an after-school teaching assistant or as a summer teaching fellow are kind of very traditionally instructional roles if you're interested in furthering your craft as a teacher or an instructor. And again, that doesn't mean that you need to go on to be working as a classroom teacher, but definitely that's why I worked at Breakthrough, was to get more public speaking skill experience. And I knew if I was thrown in front of a group of middle schoolers that they would really push me to become better. We also have a few roles that are in the education space, but not directly teaching. So for instance, one of the roles we'll be hiring for in the fall is a high school placement assistant. And this role is a really great chance to mentor our 8th grade students in the process of applying to competitive high schools. So if you grew up in the New York area, applying to public schools in New York City is very competitive and messy. And so that's kind of a cool role to explore all these issues around access and education. You're still getting to build relationships with students and coach them in that process, but you're not responsible for like curriculum or a lesson plan. And during the summer, we also have an operations role, which is really awesome. It's not taking place this summer because we aren't happening on site as a program physically. But basically, if you apply to the operations role during the summer, you're essentially like the vice principal of one of our summer sites with about 300 students. So you're learning all the ins and outs of managing the operations of a giant summer program with students coming from across the city. So that's also a cool role if you are not thinking about something too instructional. And then in the high school program, we have a few different options. So the high school mentor and the college access mentor roles are also roles that we're going to be hiring for the fall that I can talk about more. Those roles give college students and graduate students the chance to directly mentor a small group of our high school students as they prepare to apply to competitive colleges. So you would get matched with a group of 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th graders. and you would be building mentoring and coaching relationships with them, helping them achieve their goals around academics, extracurricular involvement, and then all the steps that go into preparing for college. So those mentors get the chance to build one-on-one mentoring relationships with students, and they get to do a little bit of kind of college prep seminar instruction. So we do seminars for our students on everything from identity development and stress management to building your college list to writing your college essay. So it's a chance to also do a little bit of teaching in a less formal and smaller group setting. And then something that I might highlight, which is a new role. It's not intended for current college students or graduate students, but rather for recent graduates. So if that's something you're thinking about coming up, we just launched a new college and career coach role where we're hiring professionals from a wide variety of backgrounds to coach our students so that they graduate college on time and transition into a career they're excited about. So that's something that, you know, once you graduate could be a great engagement opportunity as well. So as far as full-time roles, I thought I would talk a little bit about just generally how our organization is structured. We're only about 20 people on our staff. So, you know, we're not like a big machine that's churning and opening full-time roles regularly, and like a little bit, thank goodness for that right now. But as far as thinking about like a nonprofit organization in general, we are set up where we have pretty much half of our staff are dedicated to direct student support, so directly supporting students in the breakthrough program. And then other folks in the organization who help us build the support for the organization to make sure that the staff who support students can do everything smoothly. So for example, I help with recruiting about 100 interns a year. And then because I help with building that capacity for the organization, those folks all get to go ahead and support students effectively. We also have folks who are working in development, which is like fundraising and communications. So connecting with donors and other prospective folks to help us financially support Breakthrough. And then we've got folks working in HR and finance and operations to make sure all that is running smoothly. But of course, we do have a whole section of the organization that's dedicated to student support. And so in all our kind of student support roles, you are doing a mix of getting to directly support the success of students in Breakthrough, working with them and their families, depending on what age group you're most interested in. But you're also getting to learn a lot about the operations of a nonprofit program. So for example, I get to work with students a little bit when we interview them at the end of our admissions process, but early on in the year, I'm doing a lot of program management around how are we building our application, how are we letting middle schools know about this opportunity for students. So all of our student-facing roles involve working with students, but also general skills around how do we build and deliver an effective program for students. The only full-time role that we currently have open is we're looking for a full-time AmeriCorps member for next academic year, so 2020, 2021. It is for recent college graduates. I'm not sure if that's the situation that anyone on here is in, but we hire a few AmeriCorps members every year to work in our organization as well, and they're usually building some different organizational capacity. So I have someone who helps me with seasonal staff recruitment, and then we have another volunteer engagement manager. So if you are interested in a post-grad full-time opportunity, or if you know someone, then we are still recruiting for some AmeriCorps roles. So I can talk a little bit about what we have open right now, and then next steps or questions if you were interested about these roles. So right now, these are the roles that we have open for this coming academic year. So the first two roles are both based in our middle school program. So it would be working with our students who are in 7th and 8th grade. So the first role is going to be an after-school teaching assistant role, and that will just be for the fall 2020 term. However, we do also hire after-school teaching assistants for the spring. So if you had a really good experience at Breakthrough and your manager thought you did a really good job, then you could stay on for the spring, and we just have different curriculum we teach in the fall and the spring. So the after-school teaching assistant would be supporting the success of our 7th and 8th grade students by teaching pre-written curriculum in one of the following topics: civics, debate, writing, and exploring their high school options. So there's a mix of, you would have a pre-written curriculum that our middle school team developed. You would get the chance over the semester to edit the curriculum as you got to know more about your students and learned more about the intricacies of online teaching. And so there's a good mix of subjects that you might be interested in teaching. High school options is a particularly interesting one if you want to learn more about kind of like the access to institutions that students from our backgrounds have. So that one is a pretty interesting topic as well. So the after-school teaching assistant role, it is going to take place at specific days and times. So I'm not sure where Mercy is in the timeline of like folks knowing what their fall semester looks like. But we, after-school teaching assistants are going to be asked to teach still during our typical after-school hours, but remotely. So that'll be taking place on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. It might be a little bit shorter than that because that's normally the hours of our in-person program. And obviously some things won't be taking place remotely, but that's generally the time that we're looking for folks to be available for that instruction. And then for the after-school teaching assistant role, you don't have to have experience teaching or working in, or you don't have to have experience leading your own classroom. You'll be working with a program manager who will give you lots of support and feedback regularly in that area. And hopefully after this summer, we're running our summer program virtually. Hopefully we'll have learned some lessons to help you with virtual teaching. But we provide lots of training in teaching before you get started, lots of feedback while you're going through that process. So it's great to have experience being around students if you're going into that role. So maybe working as a peer tutor or a tutor for younger students, or being a classroom aide could be good experience if you have that. But you don't have to have experience teaching up in front of a classroom. Especially with our program being virtual, we are really curious to see kind of if there's lots of experiences that folks might have that are relevant. The second role that we're hiring for the fall is a high school placement assistant role. This role is more, in terms of hours, it's much closer to a part-time role, so we can get up to about 25 hours a week during much of the fall 2020 period. And in this role, you would be providing individualized support to our 8th grade students as they applied to competitive public and private high schools. So your caseload would be of about 20 8th grade students. And so you would be working with our high school placement manager to learn more about the high schools that Breakthrough thinks they should apply to. You'll be helping students manage application deadlines since they're in middle school, and this is for them many of the first time that they're going to be managing a process like this. You'll be helping them with reviewing short answers and essays for their school applications. You'll also be helping them remotely with interview prep, since a lot of these schools require students to interview. So it's going to be closer to 25 hours a week for most of the fall term, just because you'll be doing regular follow-up and virtual meetings with a lot of students and their families. So because of that, because of how many hours that role requires, we definitely recommend that folks, if they're considering that role, have a lighter course load, just because it is going to be a lot of hours. Or if you're a recent graduate, it could be a really great part-time opportunity while the job market is not great at the moment. The last role we're going to be hiring for, and this is going to be for the full academic year, not just for fall 2020, it's a full academic year commitment, is our high school mentor role and our college access mentor roles. So this role would be based working with our high school students. And so you would get matched with a group of high school students and mentor them for a year by doing a couple things. You would be leading workshops, like I mentioned, and individual check-ins with students on specific topics that we've chosen based on their grade level. So for ninth graders, we're doing a lot of support with transitioning to a new high school, managing stress, managing their time effectively. And for our 10th graders, we're focusing a lot on their career readiness skills or pre-professional skills, so helping them land their first summer opportunities. And then our 11th and 12th grade mentors focus a lot on the college application process. So in 11th grade, you're helping students build their college lists and start brainstorming their essay topics for the Common App. And then in 12th grade, if you were working with those students, it's a few more hours in that role. And you're really helping students stay on top of and accountable for all of their college applications. So again, helping them manage deadlines, helping them research scholarship opportunities, helping them revise some of their writing. So that's a cool opportunity to still build relationships with students one-on-one, but not be in like a formal teaching setting as much. So as far as kind of next steps, if you were interested in any of our fall opportunities, I can definitely take questions after this. But something that I wanted to note for all these roles is we are planning for all these roles to be taking place virtually. Basically, our board just has to vote on it, but our executive director has made the recommendation that we do it. And this gives us the chance to really plan a thoughtful virtual curriculum and process ahead of time instead of having to be reactionary to like the DOE and the ongoing pandemic. And so since we'll be delivering program remotely, we'll be adapting all these roles to be completed remotely as well. Based on the job descriptions we have now, we don't see anything changing about the roles remotely as far as the times and schedule of the roles. But certainly as we build out the program, we can let folks who are applying know if, you know, there's any change to hours or responsibilities. So if you're interested in any of the roles we have open for the fall, they're all posted on our website right now at btny.org/internships. And for all these roles, we are doing a first hiring wave this summer where we're accepting a first group of early applications through July 5th. And then we'll also be doing a second wave of hiring for all the same roles for another early August deadline. So again, I'm not sure where Mercy is in the realm or like knowing what the fall looks like and if students need more information in order to apply. But we are going to be doing a second round of hiring for all these roles. So if you need more time, then there's definitely still a bit more room to wait. And then certainly if you have any questions, hopefully Sarah can send out my information, my direct information afterwards. This is our like hiring general information, but I'm certainly happy to help you explore what the best fit might be for you, help you figure out what our roles are going to look like remotely and if it still is a good fit for you. But I definitely hope that you'll consider an opportunity with us, especially since I'm not sure how many employers are really actively committed and moving forward with fall remote roles for sure. So I hope that will provide also some comfort as you think about what your options might be for the fall. But that's everything I had for you all today. So if there are any questions I could answer about the organization or what roles we have available, I'd be happy to do that while I have you here, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
That was amazing, Enya. Thank you so much.
Sure.
These sound like really great internships for anyone really interested in going into social service, a helping field, education, or you're not really sure. So you know you want to help people, but you don't know how. So those are awesome. I will put your information in the chat, okay, Enya? And so who's got questions for her? Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm very interested in doing the after-school teaching assistant job or internship for middle schoolers. So I'm just a little concerned about like it has to be, it's only available, like the intern has to be able to do it on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, so it is going to be, So normally the role when it takes place in person is on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 7 p.m. because that's the time when students come to Breakthrough and they're not coming to program regularly outside of that. I think the only thing I can follow up with folks about is our middle school team is like really in the last phases of like finishing summer program planning. But there is a possibility that it will kind of get condensed in the 4 to 7 period just because a lot of our program hours are getting condensed because we want students to avoid Zoom fatigue and all that, and we know that our program can't quite be delivered in the same way. So it's possible that like the time frame window gets a little bit smaller. Maybe it starts later or ends earlier, and I can say if you email me and you're kind of concerned about that, then I can just have you on my radar to let you know when if something changes. But it is, pretty specific times that we like expect them to be online for program.
Okay, because I was a little concerned because I do have classes during those times. So that's why I was like, I was looking into it and I'm really interested in it. I feel like it's something I could fit.
Yeah.
But fortunately, like I have classes, so I'm a little worried about, not being able to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if that's a type of role that you were interested in, like a good amount of like instruction opportunities where obviously you're working with students, I would say that the high school and college access mentor role has instructional and student relationship building elements, but it's super flexible. So the way the high school and college access mentor workshops work is for high school students, we have 6 super Saturdays every year. So there's 6 specific days throughout the year, and during the day is when you're teaching those college prep workshops. So it's super easy, those 6 days of the year before you start the role, so it's something that you can really plan around ahead of time. And then other than that, the individual check-ins and relationship building that you're doing with your mentees in the role is totally up to you and the mentee to schedule, so it's not based in a specific time frame other than the 6 Saturdays a year you commit to.
I'm sorry, what is this for? Like what role specifically?
This is for the high school and college access mentor role. So that still gives you the chance to work with students. They're going to be a little bit older because they're in high school, but you're still getting to work with a really great college access curriculum for them. You're still getting to instruct and build relationships, but it's not as kind of limiting as the Monday, Wednesday schedule.
Okay, so it's more flexible.
Definitely way more flexible. Yep, the 6 days of instruction well before you start the role, and you can know them for the full year. And then all the other mentoring you're doing with students is decided based on when you and the mentee are available. It doesn't have to take place at certain times.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something you might consider, and you could apply to both and, note in your application that you're still waiting to hear about your hours, and then at least you've got one role that you're interested in and more available to do being considered for. So I might encourage you to do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Awesome. Anyone else have questions? I think I had one, if you don't mind, and this is just out of curiosity. How does your organization identify which students are eligible for your programs, or how does that work? I was just curious.
Yeah, and so you're referring to the students who are like enrolled in Breakthrough, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we specifically target students who are already performing at or above grade level, just because Breakthrough New York is a big additional commitment on top of school, and it forces students to work with curriculum that's above their grade level. We are looking for students to academically be at least at grade level. The other reason why they have to have like certain academic criteria is because we hire so many young people to work directly with them, and we're not hiring experienced teachers who know how to work with students on like IEPs and additional supports they might need. It's important for us that we get students who don't need intensive additional supports in terms of their instruction. So they all academically are really strong. They all come from lower income backgrounds. So there is like an income qualification to be a part of Breakthrough. And then again, a lot of our students, it's not required of them other than their income and their academics, but a lot of our students are coming from first generation families. A lot of them are first generation Americans. A lot of their families speak a language other than English. So really working with a student body that's super representative of like the New York City school system overall. And our students come from lots of different middle schools. Like we don't just recruit from one middle school for the Brooklyn site. So our students are really coming together across their boroughs with other kind of like-minded students. They're also, really hardworking, motivated. They apply to like come to our summer program when they're in middle school, which is not fun for most kids that age. So they're really awesome to work with. But yeah, mainly based on their academics and financial situation is how they qualify.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
I just have one more question.
Sure.
So is this actually going to be online, or are you still like trying to figure everything out?
Yeah, so I would call it 95% going to be online, basically the last 5%. So usually what happens is our staff internally are the ones who pretty much make decisions about how we think programs should be delivered most effectively. And we're just, our leadership and the staff who work with students are not willing to be a test group in this whole situation. So the whole organization from like the leadership down has decided we want to do this. We're just waiting on a board meeting vote. And typically they follow all the recommendations of the staff who might know a bit better. And especially because it's been challenging to transition to an online program, but our students and families have been really flexible, really understanding. We've still got really strong participation remotely. So it just is common sense to us to move forward this way. And because we don't have much control over the situation, at least we can be more in control of a remote program. But we'll definitely let folks know who are applying, like when the deed is fully done. But yeah, this is the best way for us to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Oh, sorry, Alba, you go ahead. I keep cutting you off, Alba. I'm sorry.
No, I think she answered my question already. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time, Enya. I really appreciate it. I hope all you guys go apply.
Yes.
And yeah, email me if you have any questions. I put Enya's email in the chat as well as the website. And all the opportunities she discussed that are open right now are also in Handshake. So if you want to go in there, you can find them there as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coordinating.
Thank you. My pleasure. Everyone have a great day.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.